Well, ladies and gentlemen, last year was an extremely profitable year for the Janitor's Closet football department. And this is the first episode of what's hopefully going to be another extremely profitable year. As the NFL season is about to kick off here, we're fired up and we have some futures bets. And ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. 13 units in futures bets are coming your way. Pardon me, 15 units as we have a 2-unit audible called in the pre-show here. My name is Bryce Hunt, joined as always by Josh Frey-Sam, our football expert, who tallied up 4 units in futures bets profit last year, 7-4 for a 63% clip. It's pulling out that crystal ball once again. And Josh, we're going to kick this thing off. We don't want to take too much time in this intro.
No, sir.
So before I kick it over to you, I just want to remind the good people, if you're buckling up with the boys on the gridiron again this year, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below, be a friend, tell a friend. We appreciate you as always. And Josh, let's waste no time on this, my man. Let's get into our first futures of the 2024-2025 NFL season.
Goodness. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Bryce. All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you guys rocking with us. Let's get this thing started. And everybody loves to bet the overs on everything, right? When we're talking about futures bets. But how about let's change it up here a little bit, Bryce. Let's go to an under here to start the show here. We are going Washington Commanders under 6.5 wins, paying double your wager here. We're going 1 unit on this, folks. Quick stat to throw out at you, Bryce, here, and this is pretty much all we need to say. History would tell you this bet is going to hit because we made the exact same bet on those Carolina Panthers last season, and we hit, what was it, week, I don't know, 10 when we hit this bet or something crazy like that. I don't know. It was probably about as early as a payout. No sweater as you probably could have asked for ever in your life on a futures bet. I was adamant. It was my favorite bet of last season, and once again, this is one of my favorite bets. Since 2018, there have only been 2 quarterbacks who have exceeded 7 wins in their rookie season. That is Mac Jones with the New England Patriots, Mac, who's now a backup, and Jalen Hurts with the Philadelphia Eagles, who, by the way, Jalen Hurts was technically not a rookie. He was technically in his second season that year. So I don't even know if I would count that. So you're talking in the last 6 seasons, only one rookie quarterback has exceeded the 7-win threshold. History would tell you, Jaden Daniels, as much as I love him, I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator. I'm a fan of Dan Quinn as a head coach. I'm a fan of what the ownership group is now over there at Washington. But history will tell you we are going to ride with history on this one. We're going to take Washington Commanders under 6.5 wins to open up our future show.
Okay, and we're going to stay in the win totals. We have 3 of our futures bets coming in the win totals department here, Josh.
Alrighty, yes, the last 2 here are over, so we're going to go back to a little bit more positive here. First one, and they're both actually in the same division, actually, believe it or not, folks. First one, Miami Dolphins over 10.5 wins. This is paying times 2.7 of your wager, and we are taking this for 2 units, folks. Listen, Miami, big fan of what they're doing over there this season. I actually have the rankings of this AFC East division going Miami 1, Jets 2, Buffalo finishing 3rd, believe it or not. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to take a step back. I think they're going to be fighting for their playoff lives this season. I think that they probably do end up making it. That's a conversation for a different day. But Miami Dolphins, the point is the Miami Dolphins, I think, are going to take a big step forward this season. And I think a lot of it is because I'm a big fan of what their early season schedule is like. It's going to allow them to kind of weather the storm. They have a lot of injuries. Let's remember, they're still trying to get back. Remember, this new Miami Dolphins team was so hot last year, and then they lost Bradley Chubb to a knee injury, a serious injury. They lost their other pass rusher, whose name is now ultimately escaping me here. I cannot remember. Goodness, that if you remember, Bryce, tell me, please, God, Jalen Phillips. Holy crap, there's a name. They lost Jalen Phillips to a serious knee injury as well. guys started dropping like flies all over the defense, and this defense, which actually looked promising at one point with the names on the board, it was now just blown to smithereens here, just on the injury report here. So Miami Dolphins are still trying to get some of these guys back, and they're not going to get them back until the midpoint of the season. But I do like their schedule early on in the year to weather this storm, so that when they get these reinforcements and they get into the nitty-gritty time of the year, they're going to remain strong. They're going to stay strong throughout this. The last point I'll make on this, and why I'm a bigger fan of the Miami Dolphins this year than I was last year even, is I think Mike McDaniel is going to learn from a lot of the mistakes that he made last year in a lot of the time we know how good the Miami Dolphins are running the ball. I think that the Miami Dolphins this time around, they made a lot of mistakes in my mind as far as throwing the ball, when they probably could have just continued to run the ball. And Tua did a fine job in a lot of cases, but it's like, just stick to the run. It felt like Mike McDaniel might have outcoached himself at times, and he's still a young coach, so he's going to learn from these. But I think he's going to make those corrections this year. You got Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson. They got the rookie over there as well. They got like this four-headed monster in the backfield. They're going to run the crap out of the football. They're going to be able to win in a little bit more colder weather games. And for that reason, I like the Miami Dolphins staying hot throughout the season, and not just in the early portions of the season when the weather is fair. Miami Dolphins over 10.5 wins.
Okay, and we're going to stay in that division in the AFC East, Josh, for our last win total team for 2024.
The exact same bet at this time for the New York Jets, over 10.5 wins, paying times 2.3 of your wager for just 1 unit. We are doing this one, folks. And the New York Jets, they got Aaron Rodgers back. Big fan of that offense. They made upgrades to the offensive line. They've got Mike Williams over there, who, when healthy, is one of the best 50-50 contested ball catchers in the entire world. Garrett Wilson is a budding superstar. Love Bryce Hall, what he's got over there. And that defense, well, we saw what that defense did. That defense gutted the Jets to 7 wins last year, Bryce. So if they did 7 wins under that defense with incompetent Zach Wilson at the helm for them, no offense to Zach Wilson, but anyways, 7 wins underneath that defense, and now you add Aaron Rodgers and an even better Bryce Hall, now 2 years removed from that injury. You got an upgraded offensive line. They got playmakers on every single level. This team, for me, is going to compete with Miami right till the very end for that division title. Ultimately, as I will, a little bit of foreshadowing to our next bet, I see this thing going one way. But the New York Jets, I believe, are going to be a serious contender this season. Don't know if how deep of a run they make in the playoffs, but we don't really care. We just need them to get over 10.5 wins, and that's what we're taking here. Jets over 10.5.
Okay, so you alluded to it there, Josh, and let's head right to there. We're going to transition to the section in your sports book here. Teams to win the division here, Josh. We have 2 teams, 3 units on the board. What are they?
Okay, so this one's going to save a little bit of explanation, but I did just allude to it a little bit. We're going Miami Dolphins to win the division for all the reasons that I just mentioned. That is going to pay times 3 of your wager, and we're going to take that one for 2 units. Miami, I love the AFC East this year. It's going to be a rock solid division almost through and through. The New England, of course, without the New England Patriots, but the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, and Miami Dolphins. It's going to be a dogfight throughout the season. Of course, I see this thing going Dolphins, Jets, Bills to finish things out.
Okay, and we have one more division, and we're looking at the NFC North here, Josh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We took this bet last year, actually. Now we're going back to the well. And what I believe last year, we had Green Bay Packers to win the division. And that was actually seen as more of a flyer bet, more of one that was, listen, we're gonna sprinkle on it, and we'll see if it comes through for us. We knew the Detroit Lions, what they were entering the season, but I thought that the Green Bay Packers were definitely nothing to sleep on. They definitely were not worth. I think they were by odds, Vegas odds, they were picked last to finish last in the NFC North. There was absolutely no chance that was happening in my mind, and I thought they were definitely worth the flyer to compete with the Detroit Lions. Turns out that one didn't work for us, but this season I absolutely do think this is not a flyer anymore. This one is a legitimate. The Green Bay Packers are paying times 3 your wager here. We're going to take this for 1 unit, and the Green Bay Packers, I think, with There's a lot to love over there, pardon the pun, for the Green Bay Packers this year. Jordan Love is another year in the system. They got Josh Jacobs now replacing Aaron Jones. The offensive line remains solid. All those weapons that all the media has made a big hype about, the weapons now, the young weapons, are all another year more mature. This team was really close to just making the NFC Championship game last year, Bryce, that where they would have played those Detroit Lions in their in a divisional championship game. Of course, their maybe their inexperience kind of caught up with them at that point. But and then this defense, the other part, the final point with the Green Bay Packers is this defense. Finally, we are expecting them to make the jump that we've been expecting them to make for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator, comes over to the Green Bay Packers now from the college ranks, where he was a head coach with Boston College, and now Jeff Hafley's instilled what is this much more aggressive mindset. The talent has really been there for years on the defensive side of the ball for the Green Bay Packers. However, it's been misused terribly by the likes of Joe Barry and more other defensive coordinators as well. This time, Jeff Hafley has these guys not thinking so much, go out there and play aggressive. I think that's going to be the difference this year. We know what the Detroit Lions are. I think we've seen them at their best. We have not seen the Green Bay Packers at their best, though, yet. Mark my words on that. Green Bay to win the division, the NFC North this year. I think they return to the top, and they're paying ×3 your wagers. So that's a good bet for us.
Okay, so some potential profit there in the NFC North with the Green Bay Packers to win that division for one unit there, Josh. We're going to switch over to the team to make the playoffs. We have one team that we're looking at here, kind of seen by the sportsbook at this point, maybe on the outside looking in, but as you're about to mention, a lot to look forward to for this team this year.
Yeah, a lot of value here. Paying ×2.4 your bet, your wager. We're taking this for one unit, and that is the Indianapolis Colts to make the playoffs. I actually really like the AFC South this year. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are just always pesky. They're going to compete. The Houston Texans, they look nasty. And then you've got the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are going to be a lot more competitive this season. The Indianapolis Colts, I think there's a ton to love there. I actually do. I have a little bit of concerns on the defensive side of the ball, but I'm absolutely loving what I'm seeing on the offensive side of the ball with this team. I think they sneak in as a wild card team this year. Maybe get to that 9, maybe they sneak into that 10-win mark. The Indianapolis Colts do, and they get in as that 6th or 7th seed. Anthony Richardson, I get it. We've only seen him play like 8 quarters of football in his NFL career, but listen, Jonathan Taylor was healthy for about, I think, 4 quarters of that last year. We've seen this two-headed monster in the backfield on the field together for about 60 minutes, Bryce, in our lifetime. This two-headed monster in the backfield is going to wreak havoc. The offensive line, I think, is going to return back to what we know it to be as one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League, and they got a lot of young talent over there that there's a lot to love there. Adonai Mitchell is the rookie, who was my favorite receiver in this year's draft class. Josh Downs, I know that he's nursing an injury right now, but he's going to make a recovery. He's going to come back, and he's going to be a downfield threat that Anthony Richardson has loved in training camp. And then finally, we've got Michael Pittman, old Mr. Reliable, who is still young enough here to be a dominant force for Anthony Richardson. He's going to be kind of the security blanket in this offense. And then, like I said, Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor are going to make hay in that running game out of the backfield, RPOs, read options, all that stuff, you name it. Indianapolis is going to be a force on offense, and then on the defensive side of the ball, they just need to be good enough, I think. I think they need to be good enough for about 9 wins this season, and that's why we're taking them to make the playoffs at ×2.4.
Okay, so we're about halfway through our show, and that's going to do it for our team bets. We are now going to head into the player portion of the episode, and we're going to start with some player props here, Josh. We have 3 that we're looking for. What are they?
Yeah, okay, so the first one here, we're going, and this is one, Bryce, you and I, we're all over this thing, man. Breece Hall over 7.5 rushing touchdowns. Major fan of Breece Hall. I talked about it when I was talking about the New York Jets here, talked about the improved offensive line. This offense is going to run through Breece Hall as a rusher, as a receiver, maybe as a thrower at this point. We have no idea, but Breece Hall is going to be involved heavily, Bryce, in this offense. Over 7.5 rushing touchdowns is paying double your wager. We are taking this one. This is our biggest futures bet of the season. We are taking this for 3 units here. Breece Hall is going to be heavily involved. And the biggest thing that I love about this, Bryce, Breece Hall rushed his way to 5 rushing touchdowns last year, okay? And this was with Zach Wilson at the helm. So we know this is with a quarterback there's zero threat to stretch the field with Zach Wilson. This year, you got the threat of Aaron Rodgers back. You got the improved offensive line. Breece Hall's looks, his red zone opportunities are going to go up. His quality looks overall are going to go up. This guy is, to me, he's reaching double digits rushing touchdowns this year, in my opinion. If you want to talk about fantasy real quick, this is my RB1. I think we already talked about this, right? We talked about this in our fantasy preview. Breece Hall is my pick to finish as the running back one in fantasy this year. So Breece Hall hitting over 7.5 rushing touchdowns. Easy bet for us. I think this is probably my favorite bet of the season. Love taking this thing. Let's roll with Breece Hall, man. We got all our eggs in that basket.
Okay, so our biggest bet of the show is off the board, and now we're going to move to the play that we mentioned to a little bit earlier. This one was just locked in pre-show,
Yeah.
something that you've definitely grown on tremendously in the past few days. You've been mulling it over, doing your different research, checking all your boxes, and you've locked this play in for this episode, Josh.
Yeah, man, and listen, I got this play. I was listening to a Seattle Seahawks team preview, a podcast of this, and just listening to the changes on offense and what is expected of the offense this year, what it might look like. That's how I came to this bet and how I grew to love this bet even more. Is Ryan Grubb coming over there from Washington, joining Mike McDonald, Bryce, your old defensive coordinator there in Baltimore. They're going over there to Seattle now. Ryan Grubb is going to bring over that offense that he ran at Washington that made Michael Penix Jr. so prolific in that offense, that made Rome Odunze awesome, that made Jalen McMillan, who's competing for a wide receiver spot in Tampa Bay right now, so prolific, right? We know what that Washington Huskies offense looked like. We loved watching it. He's going to try and bring that over. That was stretching the field a lot of the time, and he's going to bring that over to Seattle now, and that's exactly why I love Geno Smith to throw over 3,450.5 passing yards. This is paying double your wager. We are taking this for 2 units on this one, man. Geno Smith has not, since he has been in Seattle, he has not gone below this number. He hasn't thrown for below 3,600 yards. Never mind 3,450. And so for me, this is an easy bet because I think there's going to be a more explosive offense coming this time around. Not to mention, Geno Smith missed 2 games last year. So he was over 4,000 yards 2 years ago when he kind of exploded onto the scene. And now last year, he probably could have thrown for over 4,000 yards as well if he had been healthy. So the only thing here in my mind that's preventing this bet from coming through is if Geno Smith misses more than a couple of games this season, which he's been pretty durable over his career. So I'm not too worried about that. So to me, he's got the weapons. I think Seattle's defense could be a cause for concern, even though I see it going up this season. But Seattle's defense, let's not forget last season, without Mike McDonald at the helm, Seattle's defense last year was literally one of the worst in the entire National Football League. And now obviously they're going to get a little bit of an uptick, but with that defense, I think they can only get so much better. Maybe an average defense at best this season. With that defense, maybe putting them some tough spots, Geno Smith is going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more. Offense is going to be forced to stretch the field a little bit more. I really like Geno Smith here. I think he's going to hit this mark with ease, over 3,450.5 passing yards.
Okay, Josh, we're going to finish up the show here with 2 player awards for this season. Let's start with the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, this one we're going to go Jared Verse here, the talented edge rusher, out of Florida State University in his rookie season here with the Los Angeles Rams. And listen, I'm going here, when I look at some of these awards, I look at the opportunity, right? I look at the opportunity that's in front of him. You look at Dallas Turner over there in Minnesota. You look at Latu over in Indianapolis. You look at some of these different defensive players and maybe what their opportunity is going to be. Jared Verse, I would argue, has the best opportunity out of all of these defensive rookies to make an immediate impact. This guy's a starter. He is already being talked about as a leader in the locker room, according to Sean McVay. This is a guy who's going to be leaned upon right out of the gates for the Los Angeles Rams and any success they plan on having on the defensive side of the ball, Jared Verse is going to be the guy here. And for that reason, he's also paying times 11 your wager here. We're taking this for 1 unit. Love the opportunity here. I think that the Los Angeles Rams defense also as a whole, I think, takes a little bit of a step forward this season. So that can't hurt his case as well. I think that he's going to lead the rookies in sacks this season, and that's going to be a pretty good start for him wanting to claim any sort of Defensive Rookie of the Year award.
Okay, and we're going to finish out with the big one here, the MVP. Josh, only one guy can win it. A lot of tasty names on the board here.
Yeah.
Who's your guy this year?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of names to love on this, man. And speaking of Jordan Love, my quarterback, was a finalist for this, and with bias aside, but the reason why I chose Jalen Hurts is our pick for 1 unit, paying times 15. The reason why I chose him over Jordan Love was simply because of what he's gonna be able to add to his numbers on the ground. Jalen Hurts, we know how prolific he is as a rusher. We know how good he can be as a passer, and I think all those numbers, I talked about it. If you missed our fantasy preview episodes, go back and check them out. I have Jalen Hurts is finishing as the #1 quarterback in fantasy football this season because of Kellen Moore coming over. That offense is going to be way more explosive. There's going to be more movement. It's not going to be boring. It's going to be creative. It's going to be take downfield shots. It's going to have Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown all involved, maybe even Dallas Goedert, and they're going to sprinkle in Jalen Hurts on the rushing game as well. Jalen Hurts is going to have a lot of opportunity to put up some really gaudy numbers this season. And for that reason, and we all know, as long as the Philadelphia Eagles are winning ball games, if Jalen Hurts is putting up gaudy numbers in the process, we already know he's going to be in the conversation for MVP, if not win it, undoubtedly. So Jalen Hurts for me, paying times 15 our bet for 1 unit here. That to me is a great wager for us. So excited about Jalen Hurts and what he can do this season. Maybe he can add a couple tush pushes in there, boost up those numbers, and we can take this one home. So Jalen Hurts is your 2024-25 MVP.
Okay, so Jalen Hurts, the front runner for most of the season last year till the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season there for Philly.
Good point.
This morning they pick up Jahan Dotson. We know they added Saquon Barkley. New weapons for him to work with. That offense is going to be better. That team should be better. We know how much that plays into the award. Jalen Hurts to be the MVP. I'm going to run through these bets quickly, Josh, just to make sure everyone's got everything covered.
Yep.
Before we wrap up here. Jalen Hurts MVP for 1 unit. Jared Verse Defensive Rookie of the Year, 1 unit. Geno Smith over 3,450 and a half passing yards for 2 units. Bryce Hall over 7.5 rushing touchdowns, 3 units. Green Bay to win the NFC North for 1 division, and the Miami Dolphins to win the AFC East for 2 units. The Indianapolis Colts to make the playoffs for 1 unit. The New York Jets over 10.5 units for 1 unit. Miami Dolphins over 10.5 wins for 2 units. And the Washington Commanders under 6.5 wins for 1 unit. Josh, 7-4 last year, 63%. If you could hit on this again at that clip, it'll be quite the start to the NFL season. We know you're going to have a lot more plays coming for us, even though these cash outs really don't come until the end of the season, outside from a few early winners. But this is a really great way to boost your yearly portfolio. We know that 15 units can be steep right now. It is an investment for the season. We're going to have a ton of plays coming, but it is always a treat once these bets do cash at the end of the year, Josh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Especially when they went as easy as that Carolina Panthers one did, and we got a little treat midway through the season. I'm not expecting all of them to come that easy, but definitely is nice at the end of the season when you see a couple extra bucks and on some of the bets that you maybe forgot about, you stash in the back of your mind. So looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and maybe just for all the Panthers fans out there, it's gonna be a little bit easier from the boys this year. Just looking ahead at some of the things we've been talking about already. Josh, let's wrap this thing up, man. Looking forward to week one. We're just over a week away at this point.
Whew.
Really looking forward to game one. We may have some plays, we may not. Still mulling over. I think you said 9 plays for week one. So
Yeah,
uh,
we're already looking ahead, man. We the look ahead lines. We already got this thing on lock. We're already the watch list is already jam packed, folks. So make sure you stay locked here for week one, man. We got a big time show coming for week one.
okay, it's the best time of the year. We're gonna have baseball still pumping out. Gonna have football coming in hot. Best time of the year, folks. Keep it locked. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time. Take it easy, folks.